Welcome to the East Coast, Russia. It's been more than 3 months since I moved from Moscow, from the capital of Russia, to the Far East region, to my hometown of Vladivostok. And today I'm visiting a very cool location in my town. It's called Cesarevich Embankment, and today I will show you my city from this angle. And today I want to speak about why Far East is actually might be better in 2026 than Moscow. So follow me, guys, and let's go. This place is very cool because here you can see a lot of ships and also walk on the Golden Horn Bridge. Look how tall it is. A little bit cloudy weather today, but actually it is better for filming. And look, this is a big parking and big Soviet bus like this. So these guys are filming something, and let's go this way because there is going to be very nice ocean walk. When I start to film normal vlogs and post about my daily life in Vladivostok, I receive so many comments about people saying that, wow, Vladivostok is actually very cool looking place, as that they don't believe how big it is. But for your understanding, Vladivostok locates like 9,000 kilometers from Moscow. It takes 8.5 hours by airplane to come from the capital to our region. And people really don't believe that Vladivostok is actually not a Soviet closed ship naval base on the Pacific, but now it's a normal town. And today I will explain you more about it. Why I actually very like it here other than Moscow in comparison is that here the rent price for apartment is a little bit cheaper because Moscow prices are going very high at the moment, but Moscow is very big. Renting in a central area is very expensive, and in Vladivostok we don't have so much luxury apartments, just a few. We have just one very tall skyscraper apartment house that will be really expensive, like a few $1,000s to live there. But normal average price for apartment actually is somewhere in the middle. It's still kind of affordable. Another very important reason is that our mobile internet connection is pretty stable here, and we are very far from Ukraine and from everything that's going on there in Western Russia. So here you feel like very calm and no drones flying, no real danger, and our mobile internet and maps works quite stable, and it makes our life pretty easy because in the vlogs from Russian YouTubers from St. Petersburg, I hear even in St. Petersburg they have no problems with internet, and in Moscow for sure they have problems with internet. So here I don't feel this at all, and I'm very happy about it that our life is kinda normal here. Not so much people here usually in a sunny day. This place is so very crowded, but it's just working hours, and you see the bridge looks like this. It goes to another part of the town, and before this bridge, guys, to get from the city center, which locates on this side, you have to go all around the town, go to the end of the harbor and drive there, which could take you like 1-2 hours to go around, but with this bridge it takes maybe 15 minutes to go to the other side. Of course, we don't have some fancy Moscow services such as robots from Yandex or Yandex delivery food, or we don't have Stars coffee, but this is basically it. Other coffee we have McDonald's and other brands. We have shopping malls. Life here is completely normal. Like if you have money, you can create yourself a very nice lifestyle here, even maybe better than in Moscow, because here another big plus for me is that Vladivostok is located nearby the ocean, and here you can enjoy such scenery, which is in Moscow not available. Moscow is a river city, and in the city, of course, it's very nice to have bridges and these river docks, but you never see the ocean nature, and it's very cool when every time you can go to the seaside, look down and see real sea stars, or you can see we have many seagulls here, and we don't have whales, but we have sea cats, largas. Another very important factor about traveling, because western part of Russia right now have interruptions with flights, and flying internationally it might be difficult because right now, there's problems in Dubai. And what people from the western Russia used to do is that they would have layover in Dubai or Turkey to go any international locations. But here in the east of Russia, what you actually can do is that you can go to China by bus or by car driving, and you can buy literally a bus ticket to China for $20 one way, and you can go to the nearby city in China with a big airport that you can take a flight to Beijing, and from Beijing or Shanghai you can fly pretty much everywhere in the world, because China's airlines, they are not sanctions, and there is no problems in China. So from Vladivostok it's very easy. You can go by bus or by train, and you can fly pretty much easily internationally from here. This interesting looking building in the ocean called Dalzavod. It is a ship factory, and sometimes when you can see inside, you can see some ship repairments. And you see in the harbor there are a lot of different ships standing. On other side, they are shipping big containers. But big parts of this harbor, it's closed because it is a military object, and we have here big base of Pacific Fleet, so it is strategical location to look at this interesting sky today. When I look at the small dogs around, I just so amazed how tiny they are compared to my Misha's comrade. Now he's staying at home because I want to film in a calm environment, guys. When Misha is with me filming, he wants to go around, so it's very difficult sometimes to take him for filming with me. And look, this is a new brand of Russian scooters. I never seen this before. Now it's blue. Another big plus for me here in Far East and in Vladivostok specifically is that our nature, as well as Vladivostok weather, in winter usually very sunny, because we don't have such gloomy European climate. In the Far East we have climate of typhoons, which means that a very big rain or big thunderstorm with big snow can come, but it will last for 1 or 2 days, and then after the big storm the sky will clear out, and after that you will see sun and bright weather again. But in Moscow I stayed there 2 winters, and I realized that climate is completely gray. It can be snowy every day, and the sky never clears out, and every time you can see only gray buildings and gray sky above you, so you can feel they're very, very grumpy. Another reason about the nature is that Moscow has such beautiful parks and streets, you know. They have the best maintenance of everything, but sometimes it feels too much artificial and you don't have so much nature in Moscow. Like, yes, you have big natural parks, that's for sure, but you're still surrounded by town. And to get out from Moscow, you need to drive for 2-3 hours to get out from the big city, because Moscow is such a big region together with Moscow area, Moscow Oblast. And when you are leaving Moscow, you are in Moscow Oblast, and then you need to drive for another like half an hour, maybe 1 hour, to get to the real wilderness of the nature. But here in Vladivostok, you don't feel this. You can go half an hour to the Russian island and you can be in a wild beach. And when you see some open space, mountains, and open ocean around, you completely feel like you're surrounded by wild nature, and you can feel this loneliness. Not the loneliness, like the special feeling that you can be far away from people and actually recharged by the nature. If you drive from Vladivostok for 1 hour, so there's basically one road to get out, because Vladivostok locates on a peninsula which is surrounded by ocean from 3 sides, so there is only one way to get outside. And when you drive outside, you can see only small villages, small towns, and basically you will see Amur taiga with tigers. Yes, we have just a little bears here in the region, and we pretty much have wild tigers here, so it's very interesting. And we have this wilderness and Amur tiger forest reserves where they really look after the wild tigers. And yeah, it's completely like wildlife here, guys, because tigers can come to the villages here. Another very interesting reason that probably only local person can tell you is that how I feel local people. You know, Moscow people, they are very mix of every people in Russia. Like, many people come to Moscow and they don't have a specific race or specific kind of Russian people. They are just mix of everything. But Vladivostok people, they are still very local, and they are very real Far East Russian people. They are more like Siberian tough people, but with a special vibe, you know. And they are definitely not a soy matcha latte people from Moscow that are used to all good capitalist life, you know what I mean? Like going to coffee shop and trading cryptocurrencies and driving crazy capitalist cars and stuff like that. They are more simple people living here, and they have this vibe of tough Russian people, but the energy of the city overall is very like Moscow, because here people never sleep, it feels like, because roads are very busy, people are very much going somewhere every day, every time of the year. Roads are busy, people are driving to do their stuff, to do their business, or whatever they're doing in their life. So Vladivostok is not sleepy people, it's not a sleepy town, and if you like energetic cities like Moscow, Vladivostok is very same vibe. With the prices of life, I cannot say that Vladivostok is very cheap place, and people are very surprised about this too. Look at this tiny car. Yeah, and also very specific thing about Vladivostok is that we have our own insane car fashion from Japan and from other Asian countries Korea and China. Maybe I need to make a video about our crazy car fashion like this, because we have so little Western brands actually, not like in Moscow. So prices in Vladivostok actually for food very much you can compare it to Moscow. Vladivostok is not a cheap place because our cost of food here is pretty pricey, because many foods they are delivered from China or they delivered from other regions of Russia. It means that they need to drive very many kilometers, and it just makes groceries expensive. And in our region we don't have so many food manufacturers, maybe just a few chicken farms or meat farms, but not so many, because so there is no much competition for this, and it means that all the food need to be delivered from other regions of Russia, and prices for food may be same as in Moscow or maybe higher. Overall, if we compare cost of living, I would say you can spend almost same amount of money here in Vladivostok or in Moscow, because here some things are cheaper and some things are more expensive. For example, taxis in Moscow are much more expensive now, around $15-20 easily you can spend. But here in Vladivostok, taxi is more affordable. Maybe around $10 you would spend for one ride. I'm not saying that Moscow is a bad place. Of course, I still feel like Moscow is the most epic, is the most developed city in Russia at the moment. But Moscow is just not for everyone. I lived in Moscow for 2 years, but for me, I feel like it's too much big of the place. I get tired of such huge mega towns, and I just need more air and more freedom and more open space and nature. That's why I feel like when I nearby the ocean, I feel like more myself. So I think in this video I covered very interesting points, and I hope it was interesting and useful for many of you guys. I still highly recommend you to visit Moscow and other interesting town. If you ask in what place to visit, I recommend you to come to the Far East, because it's such a great adventure, and especially if you want to do a Trans-Siberian trip, of course you can do it. Just take this epic train from Moscow to Vladivostok and you will remember Russia forever. So now I hope you learn more about Vladivostok and our crazy life here in Far East of Russia. Thank you so much guys for watching. Thank you so much for clicking on this one and staying until the very end. If you want to support Lisa the Russian and Misha the Comrade, please send tiny little dollars and become sponsors here on YouTube or in Patreon. Always available. Also, you can use PayPal. So thanks guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.